tuning in live. If not, welcome to the Dynasty Dugout Show. It is Friday, December 27th. I hope every one of you had Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Hope you guys have had an awesome time these last few weeks. I guess even months, going back to Thanksgiving if you celebrate. But thank you for being with me today. And thank you if you support the Dynasty Dugout. I appreciate you more than you know. 2025 here is going to be a big one for the Dugout, and I am quite excited. We are going to do a prospect Q&A today, so I'm excited about that. We got like 60 questions, so lots of questions to get through today. Hope you'll hang out with me today throughout the whole show. I'm going to answer all of them. If you submitted Blue Sky or Twitter, thank you. If you submitted via Discord, thank you as well. And I am looking forward to getting into this. So let's jump into the first question we got. I'll go through the Blue Sky ones first. There was a little less over there, so I just copied those over. Mad Brit says Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez sell or hold, and then the best SP prospect that no one is talking about. So Spencer Jones, in my opinion, is a sell just because the contact isn't there. He's fun. He's a good athlete. He hits the ball extremely hard. He's fast in open space. He's a decent glove. So I think in a way he's got this floor where he can succeed. But at the same time, I do worry about his ability to hit, make enough contact. I mean, last year ran a 60% overall contact rate. That's like bottom of the barrel in the end zone contact rate. 68%, not great. He can get the ball hard, but only carries you so far if you can't make contact. I see Dominguez as a buy, actually. So if I'm looking at Dominguez, I think that the hype's been kind of faded around him based on the willingness of the Yankees to use him down the stretch. Wouldn't worry about that. I think he's a good buy right now. He's going to play heading into 2025 and play pretty much every day. Best pitching prospect nobody's talking about. That's not easy because everybody talks about everybody. It seems there's no like hidden gems anymore. But if I'm looking for like somebody that really gets no buzz that I think's really good. Sorry, just going down my list. I know Moises Chausse got some hype down the stretch. I think he's really good after the trade to Philly. He really took off. Cole Drake's, I guess, the one that I'll go with. He has not gotten any buzz at all, but he's had a tremendous year. He put together a great 2024. I saw him. He looked awesome. He's got a good pitch mix. He's got good command, good location. So Cole Drake's a lefty with the Rangers. I ranked him 5th or 6th in the system. Just dropped the Ranger system rankings today. So I guess Cole Drake, I think he's a very talented arm. Casey Hunt's another one. He gets some love. I think David Sandlin has the most upside of any arm that doesn't get talked about a lot. So there's a couple for you. Atticus Finch wannabe asked, what are the odds that Leo DeVries being the number one prospect 1 year from today? I mean, I think that's a reasonable expectation. I would say there's a handful of guys that could be number one prospect, and DeVries is certainly one of those. It is a big crop of prospects. DeVries was really good in the AFL when I saw him. I think Walcott's more likely to be number one. I just have like comparing the two, like similar age. Walcott's got, the more tantalizing skill set. DeVries has a little bit better feel to hit. So I would say the odds are like 25%, just given that there's a lot of different names. Some guys will pop up. There'll be a lot of graduates, but DeVries certainly has a good chance. And 25% is not a bad thing by any means. Sox enthusiast ask, what are the odds either Roman Anthony or Christian Campbell make the opening day roster for the Red Sox? I would guess it's pretty low, but that doesn't mean they'll be down in AAA long. We obviously want them to be in the opening day lineup. I think mid-May isn't a reasonable expectation for Anthony. Campbell may stand the better chance, just given the need at second base. If they sign Bregman, looks a little different, but I think that Campbell and Anthony both are probably mid-May debuts. I would say the odds are 15% that they break camp with the Red Sox, even though I'd love them to. Tim Harrington, he says, love the content, Chris. How do you value younger international guys with very high upside and low minors? Mentions Walcott, DeVries, Selston, Yoendry Vargas, Emil Morales, Jesus Mate, etc. So I think that obviously the most important thing you can do is understand the context. So, like all these guys were in different contexts. Walcott was in high A to double A, DeVries in single A, Selston in the complex, Vargas complex, Made Morales in the DSL. So, different contexts for all of them. So, we have to kind of think about that and factor it in. What do I look for in an eval, and how do you compare the DSL and complex stats to higher levels? So, I think this goes right into that. Well, obviously, the DSL pitching is really bad. The average walk rate in DSL is like 15%. So I think people just kind of look at the blanket numbers and they say, oh, this guy walks a lot. He's got decent plate discipline. Not so fast because the average walk rate is 15%. So it's not really that great to walk the TSL. I think that it comes down to kind of like the numbers. Guys that make contact, put up big exit velocities, and that's kind of what separates a Jesus Made from the rest. Is like, yeah, I mean, we can look at the DSL surface numbers and it's whatever. Like a lot of guys put up big surface numbers and it doesn't mean anything. But with Made, like he put up a 104 ninth percentile exit velocity. Like that's pretty rare for someone his age. I went back and looked at Lazaro Montes, and he was 102 at the same age in the TSL. So Made already ahead there. Made's contact was like 20% higher than Lazaro Montes was in the DSL. So that's obviously something to watch. He doesn't chase at all. Made just has like the elite combo of under the surface stats. And obviously, like that's not something that's publicly available. But when you get it, when you see it, you use it and you're like, all right, I feel comfortable shoving this guy up because I acknowledge that he's just so different than everybody else in the DSL. Kind of the same can be said for the complex and like looking at those players comparatively to, the rest of their league mates. And I said on the Florida complex this year, competition's not great. The pitching's not great. So you have to take that in stride too. But when you see a guy stand out skill wise, I think it certainly matters. You take a Walcott, for instance. He was in high A all year, way young for the level, went to double A at season's end. He continued to hit. He is a tremendous asset. I mean, he put up a ninth percentile exit velocity north of 106. That's an elite mark, especially for his age. That would be plus by MLB standards, and he's doing it at 18 in high A. It's just ridiculous bat speed. It's respectable contact. I mean, it's good enough contact. He runs well. He's actually a good glove. Don't let people tell you can't play short. I've seen him enough to tell you can play shortstop. So I think that everything is taken in stride, everything's taken in context, and everything is taken on a player-by-player basis. And as far as like what I'm looking at, Travis Hubbard piggybacked on this question. He says, I have Walcott, DeVries, Selston, and Made stashed. Got in early and traded for lots of FYPD picks, but the day will come when I need to package some or lose some of these guys to auctions. I can't keep them all. Once they debut, who are you the most bullish on long-term, and who are you higher on than the industry? Walcott, I mean, all these guys are buzzy, so it's hard to be higher on any of these four that you mentioned. I'm pretty bullish on Walcott just because I'm comfortable with him. I've seen him a lot in person. DeVries looked pretty good in person too. Obviously, I haven't seen Selston or Made. Didn't go to the Arizona complex, haven't been at DSL. I think I'll see Made early this year. Man, Made's data is like just off the charts, and so I'm pretty bullish on him. If I had to keep, let's see, if I ranked him in order, I'd probably want to keep like Walcott, Made for the upside, DeVries. DeVries and Made probably close. I think Made probably has a little more upside than DeVries, just given what we've seen. And then Selston being fourth. But I like Selston. That's not a knock on him at all. He's a top 50 prospect for me. Who am I higher on than the industry? Just of these four, I don't really know. I don't look at a lot of other lists, especially when I'm writing my reports, just trying to avoid that. I guess maybe Selston. I think people may have faded him a bit. I think that might be a mistake. I think he's a really talented prospect. I've got some people that I really respect in the industry that think Made's a top 10 prospect. I'm not there on him, so a little further behind there, but I still like Made a lot. So that is no knock on him. This is a fun question. Which prospect that's hyped does not pass the eye test? That's a good question. I see a lot of prospects. I did 70 games this year. Trying to look through and scroll through my list and look at somebody that I was like, I mean, Christian Campbell doesn't pass the eye test if you want to go that way. I mean, the swing is not pretty or picturesque, but he makes it work. So, I mean, if you want to say that, but also he's like a 6'3", like built wide receiver. So at the same time, like he passes the eye test in some ways, but not the swing. He's a really good athlete. Who else does not pass the eye test? You could say Chase DeLauder. He's kind of a bit of a clunky runner. He's a big guy, heavy set, like it's not heavy set, but a strong frame. He's a heavy foot runner, but he consistently hits and he consistently hits for power. But just like watching him is like not the most pretty thing, I guess, with the swing, and people knock the swing, and he's not the most aesthetically pleasing player to watch, but he still performs. So I guess DeLauder, but people may have faded him a bit. Others that didn't or haven't passed the eye test for me, I don't know. Those are some names that I would say, but they're not bad ball players by any means. So say Colby Thomas, probably one that, I think that he has a hole in the top of his swing. He struggles with breaking balls. Don't let the stats deceive you. Colby Thomas is a major sell high, in my opinion. So I guess those are a couple. Tim Harrington also asked another, says, how do you see the Pirates rotation playing out 2025 and long term? They have a lot of young talent in the MLB side and the MILB side. I'd expect they have to make room for Bubba, Harrington, Ashcraft. Yeah, I mean, it's a loaded team for sure. Ashcraft hasn't stayed healthy, so hard to assume he factors in. Chandler, he's elite. I mean, he's a top 5 pitching prospect for me, so obviously he's going to find a spot. I mean, right now, you've got a top 3. You've got Skeens, you've got Jones, you've got Mitch Keller. After that, there is room. I mean, Bailey Falter's penciled in. Johan Oviedo is penciled in. Those guys won't last, just given the crop of talent that they have. You also have Mike Burrows to factor in. There's several guys, and you get down to lower levels, like Hunter Barco's great, because he's at AA, not lower levels. Anthony Solomito, he kind of regressed some last year, but I like Carlson Reed a lot. So, long term, I think it's going to be Skeens. They've got Keller locked up on a big deal. He's gonna stay. So, I think that ultimately, it works itself out. I'm not super worried about those guys finding roles. Good pitchers are going to find a way in. So, Skeens, Keller, Jones, Chandler's next, probably Harrington after that. Ashcraft, if he's healthy, is a really good arm, but don't forget about Mike Burrows. So, thank you for the questions, Tim. Not sure if you're related to Tom Harrington, but yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. James Gwynn, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. He asked, with Houston's recent additions of Walker and Paredes, does that put Whitcomb and DeCinzo back in the minors, probably off the opening day roster? DeCinzo played some left field and winter ball. Probably. I'm not confident that either of those guys will be on the opening day lineup card. Definitely not starting. I think Whitcomb's versatility probably helps him a little bit. He could get in that lineup early, just given that he is pretty versatile. DeCinzo probably could use a little more work in the minors, so I guess he's kind of the first one that goes back if you look at it from that standpoint. He did ask another question, thoughts on Jimmy Crooks. Does he have a future? They're loaded at catcher. I rank Jimmy Crooks as a top 5 player in the Cardinals system. He is ridiculous with the bat and ridiculous with his glove. I think he threw out 33% of base stealers last year in AA. He had like a 107 mile an hour 9th percentile, if I'm not mistaken, and he makes a ton of contact. So my report on Jimmy Crooks is glowing if you want to go check that out on the website. I think Crooks is the most underrated catching prospect in the minors. Very, very good. All for 2025. This is L Tong 1009. Is Mayo going to get a serious look? Not out of the gate unless a trade happens. Where's Jacob Wilson in points league versus Trevor Story? I'm more comfortable with Jacob Wilson, just given the one easy path to playing time. The Red Sox have a lot coming up, and they're going to play Story if he's healthy, but Story's also had a pretty poor track record of health, and the contact skills aren't the best. So Wilson in a points league, I'd take. Quinn Matthews, Colt Keith, Jonathan Aranda. Just listing my investments. Quinn Matthews, durable as all get out, added 4 ticks of velo. I think he's very, very good. Crafty lefty. since 95 now. Good stuff, good command. Colt Keith, yeah, the news today, he's going to play first base. They're not going to bench him. He hits lefties well. He hits righties well. Take that and be happy. Jonathan Aranda, yeah, I mean, he's going to play in Yankee Stadium, basically, in Steinbrenner. Short porch and right. Love that for Aranda. He should play regularly, at least on the strong side of platoon. So I am definitely in there. All right, let's get to the Twitter questions. Actually, I'm going to get to one from the Discord real quick. SPP asked me, can you compare Caminero and Holiday for Dynasty? For Roto, actually, I've had both ranked really close kind of throughout. Caminero has more power. There's no denying that. I think Caminero's raw power is elite of the elite. There's been people that put out there that the bat path is bad. It's not true. If you look at actual numbers, his bat path is fine. Does he hit the ball on the ground more than you'd like? Sure, but he hits the ball hard enough and he hits the ball hard enough to all fields that he makes it work. His air percentage and launch scores are really good. They're average. And when you hit the ball as hard as he does with 70 grade raw, that stuff doesn't matter. So the Junior Caminero swing path issues are a non-thing for me. He's going to be great. The contact is average. It's fine. Funny enough, his contact isn't all that different than Holiday, who was built as an elite hit tool. Talked on the tool shed last night. Holiday's an average hitter for me with really good plate discipline. Caminero doesn't have the plate discipline as Holiday does. He's not going to run as much as Holiday. I think Holiday could be a 20-20 bat. I think that Caminero could be a 35, 5 stolen base bat. So, take it for what it's worth, but I don't know. They're pretty close. I think I would prefer Caminero for 2025. They're different players. Long-term could be close. Let's get to the Twitter questions. We had a lot of those. Lucas Staggs, the Upside Prospect. Check out Lucas's work at the Upside Prospect. He asked, what round 4 guy from the MLB draft do you think can break out this year? That's actually a really fun round of guys. I like Rodney Green a lot, that the Athletics drafted from Cal. Seen Blake Wright a ton, Clemson local product. I said on Casey Saki at the end of the year with Winston-Salem. He was really good. Seen Austin Gordon. He could be closer, good reliever with the Angels. I think there's an easy answer for me, but there's a lot of guys in this round that I like. And I will save my personal answer for the end. Tyson Neighbors with the Padres. He's going to be pushed quick, relief prospect. Gage Zeal, we know that Miami University sucks at pitch development, and we saw with Alejandro Rosario, there's been lots of guys where Zeal's going to have his pitch mix change with the Yankees and be good. Josh Caron might be the most underrated catcher in the draft. He put up a 110 ninth percentile exit velocity last year. Got to show some love for Fenwick Trimble. James Madison, he's a fun prospect, very underrated, good pick there. Dodgers always knock out every pick. Jacob Wright. Carson DeMartini's one that changed his swing when he got to pro ball, made a ton more contact, and he has big power. Titus Cecil, prep guys, I like Cecil a lot for power speed combo. A lot of guys to like, but my guy here is Eddie Renders of the Pirates. Eddie Renders has a great frame, good power stroke, power speed. He didn't get a lot of love, Wisconsin prep guys. They just don't get the coverage that a lot of others do. His data as a prep was super good. He was a Kent State commit also, so not a big power 5 guy, but I think the Pirates got a steal here with Eddie Renders, and I think he's one that could really take off. I did leave off Dakota Jordan. I apologize with the Giants. He's another one. Peyton Stovall. There was those SEC contributors I think are good. I'm not high on Dakota Jordan just because he can't make contact, but he's got power for days. So Eddie Renders is my guy. 4th round did have a lot of guys to like. So Brian Recca, he asked, when does Brandon Sproat make his MLB debut? Brandon Sproat was going to make his MLB debut last year if the AAA season went well. He definitely hit some speed bumps in AAA. I think Sproat's still a good arm. I think it depends on what the Mets do the rest of this offseason. They've beefed up their rotation, and they've got Manaea back. They've got Kota Senga back. They got Frankie Montas. They have David Peterson. They signed Clay Holmes to start. This is an interesting situation. I think Sproat's still their top prospect, in my opinion. have him over Jet Williams. But how does he fit in? Do they run a 6-man, which may make sense with some of these arms, especially like a Senga, especially like a David Peterson and Clay Holmes. So if they run a 6-man, it makes complete sense, in my opinion. Paul Blackburn's not going to last. I mean, if we're being honest, he's just not going to be a consistent MLB starter. And of these guys last year, Manaea was the only one that threw significant innings. I guess Montas threw 150, but at the end of the day, I think Sproat finds his way in by late May and is a solid contributor for him. So very high on Brandon Sproat. He's in like my second tier pitching prospects. Really, really good. Charles Golden asked, what happened to Brock Porter? Loss of velo and command, then shut down entirely. Heard rumors they were quiet to quiet down his delivery. Will be interesting to see what he looks like in spring training. Yeah, I mean, Porter, to see someone fall like this is a pretty rare thing. You don't often see this. He was, not good. To get sent to the dev list and pretty much spend most of the year there. He pitched at the complex, obviously, and complex level ball, but to see a talented arm like this, I know he went 4th round, but 3.7 million bonus. Like, this was first round talent that the Rangers bought down because this was their second pick in 2022. Struggles were real. The velocity took a huge step back this year, which was weird to see. Like, he was down to like 90, and he was not there before. He was 93, 94 in spring breakout. He ticked all the way back to 90 and in the 80s at points. So I don't know if there's some arm issues going on there. It's an interesting case with Porter. Can he rebound? Yes. It's going to be hard to do, I'd say. So very tough. Flickor on Twitter asked, I'm always a fan of second-generation prospects. Doesn't Vlad have another kid in the minors? Are there other big-time second-generation prospects coming? Yeah, so Vlad's other son, Pablo Guerrero, he's one that's rode up in the Ranger system, had a really big year, so that was fun to see. I'm definitely excited to see his progression. I'll see him pretty early in the year. So, look out for Pablo Guerrero. You have plenty of second-generation guys. At this point, there's obviously Justin Crawford's son, or Justin Crawford, who is Carl Crawford's son. He's with the Phillies org. There's just a lot of these second-generation. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to see. Frank Samsel asked, MILB prospects seen as down versus recent years? Is this because the top 100 are actually worse, or because nobody has a feel to rank 11 through 50? Feels like 50 to 100 is about the same as always. There's a clear tier behind the top 10 to 12 right now. Yeah, that's interesting to look at. I won't say the crop is super down. I think it lacks the superstar that it once had. But you look at just the crop in general, guys are just getting promoted so much quicker. Players don't stay in the minors as long. So from that standpoint, it's like, okay, then they're not getting the reps in the minors to stay that long down there. So naturally, it's just the talent looks less, but it's just different guys ultimately. You had the org list cut to 165 from 180, so you have 15 less players on rosters on the domestic side, so that obviously factors in too. Yeah, I think it's a pretty big tier. You're right. For me, the tier 2 drops off after pick the 12th overall spot, which is Travis Bazzana for me. It is kind of a large tier, I'd say. You still have some gaps there. I would say the 50 to 100 range, yeah, it's about what it always is. I'm not saying it's like super down. There's good talent. I think people have just kind of bought into the consensus that it's like, it's just not good. And I'm not sure I necessarily buy that it's not good. So yeah, it's fine. I'll say that. So let's keep going with the questions. And yeah, there's a live chat. The pitching prospects now are insane. Yeah, it's a very deep pitching crop from the lower levels to the upper levels. I think that we're looking at very, very good talent as far as that. And hopefully my mic's sounding okay. There was a commented about not sounding right. So hopefully it sounds okay. Give me a thumbs up if you're watching live and you hear everything fine. But I'm going to keep rolling. Recently discovered Peyton Eels. How good his metrics were in AAA. Defensive tape looks quite impressive as well. 5'5", that's a concern. This is from the God with an extra D, 38. Seems like a great story. Yeah, he's definitely a great story. Local guy, Coastal Carolina, so not far from me. Seen him before in person. He is tiny. I'm short. I'm 5'8", 5'9". So yeah, when players are shorter than me, it's noticeable to me because I am short myself. What's holding him back from, being in the majors? I think in general, it's just one of those profiles that like, yeah, it can succeed in the minors and it's a lot of fun to root for, but I'm not necessarily sure that he's an everyday major league type. He's probably more of a utility, and that's fine. Like he can play all over, and I think that certainly matters. It's a fun story. Went to indie ball, signed with the Twins, went to AAA. As you mentioned, the numbers are really good. Really good contact, low chase. EVs are fringy. Like it's just really low exit velocities. So, yeah, I think that's a concern. But with that being said, I'm still in on Peyton Neals. I think he can be a fun utility guy. So we'll see how all that shakes out. Turn up the mic a little bit. So this will be a fun edit post. But all right, next question. Hopefully that sounds a little better for you. Thank you for letting me know that. All right, what do you think of Rafael Flores? This is Doc Pat 1028 on Twitter. What do you think of Rafael Flores being the backup catcher for the Yankees? I've seen him more as splitting catcher duty with Wells. He's not ready yet. I love Rafael Flores. I think that there's definitely a lot to like here in this profile. I think that he can hit. This system's deep with catchers. They've got a lot of guys. They're not going to push him aggressively. He was slated to go to the AFL, was ultimately replaced. So, yeah, but Flores matches. He's 6th overall prospect in the Yankees system for me. A 9th percentile EV, 108. Average EV, 93.5 with a max of 115. That's Spencer Jones and Xavier Isaac level power right there. So that's big stuff. He made better contact than both those guys too. So that's worth noting. Good ex-Wobicon. He's a really good bat. So yeah, I would say that he could be up soon. It's not like imminent, but I think the bat's going to play eventually. I like Rafael Flores a lot. Sounds like you're using your headset mic. It's on this. That's what I don't understand. Like my mic is on the normal. I'm using a very nice mic. I don't understand why it sounds like that. That's annoying. But anyway, gonna keep going. All right. Trey at Baton Huge says, can Khalil Watson return to being a top prospect? Probably not. That's just my quick and easy answer. He just not there. There's been the off the field stuff, and he struggled to kind of get his head right. So I would say no. At NFTG 64, hey Chris, do the Giants have pitching in their minor leagues that make a difference in San Francisco? They have a lot of under the radar guys. Outside of Carson Wisenhunt, it's not like a lot of mainstream arms. Wisenhunt's good, but they've got like Joe Whitman, who's a high floor. Trent Harris is probably my favorite story. He's a little older, undrafted free agent, but Harris is a really good arm. So very excited about him. I would watch him pretty close this year. He's my 3rd ranked pitcher in the system. A lot of talent there. They traded for Jacob Bresnahan from Cleveland, who I absolutely loved. I was surprised they made that trade. It didn't really make sense to me, but yeah, he's fun. Some deeper arms like Jack Choate. He's interesting. Reggie Crawford, if he can stay healthy, could be their closer. So Trevor McDonald, interesting one to watch. There's some arms. They're not like super talented, but they're good. So I'd watch out for them to kind of see how those develop. They're not the best at developing them, but it's fine. David Katz said, basic question, Condon or Weatherholt? I'll take Weatherholt, just less volatility, safer hit tool. Condon, Weatherholt still has the upside. He hits the ball super hard, but I like Condon. I haven't dropped Condon to the extreme that some have, but it's Weatherholt for me. So I'll take him. Eli at E-Dodger Blue 88. Why don't guys like Austin Peterson, Andrew Morris, Casey Hunt, Ryan Lobus, and Cole Drake get any love? They do for me. I've talked about Austin Peterson all year. Older prospect, Austin Peterson, that is. Andrew Morris, a little bit of older pitching prospect. They're not flashy. Peterson sits like 92 on the fastball, but he's got a deep arsenal and good command. Andrew Morris, the same can be said. I think Casey Hunt's a borderline top 100 prospect, he wasn't a pitcher for a long time. So, Casey Hunt is legit, and I think he'll get more love if he continues to pitch well. Ryan Lobus is a piggyback reliever. I like him. I mean, he did some good stuff, just wrote him up. And I've got Cole Drake fifth in the system with the Rangers. I absolutely love Cole Drake. Mainstream, I don't know. It's a good question, but all those guys are very, very good. So very excited about them. Different levels of each, like Casey Hunt and Cole Drake, probably the most of that list. Thanks for the question. Josh Schneider asked, what are your expectations for Miguel Bleis in 2025, specifically his power expectations? He's yet to post a slug over 400 and ISO of 150 in full season ball. I mean, yeah, I've said on Bleis a ton. I look at Miguel Bleis. He's a good athlete. He does hit the ball hard. I mean, he hit the ball up to 114 this year. He had improved EVs all around, and it's interesting to me because Bleis is one of those that gets in his own head. You watch him, and it's kind of a head case situation. Like, you can see it very evidently. He wears his emotion on his sleeves when he plays. And I think that's a big factor. He's got to learn to get out of his own head. He's capable. There's no doubt in my mind. He's got the power and speed blend. He had 11 home runs last year. The contact rate's actually improved from 2023 to 2024. So you like to see that. It's respectable chase rate. I don't know. I think Bleis has the talent. I think Bleis just ultimately can't get out of his own head. I'll hit a quick live question real quick. Or just a thought, Yofri Rodriguez will be a top 25 prospect this time next year. Yeah, I like my look at Yof this year. I mean, he was good when I saw him with Carolina. He's a fun player. I think he hit a home run in one of the looks that I saw him. So, yeah, Yofri Rodriguez, fun prospect there. Take some quick water break. It's a lot easier talking with a co-host for as long as I have been chatting. But again, thank you for all the questions. Appreciate 50 some questions, about 60 questions. That's really awesome. Let's keep going. Caden Arcadair says, which SP prospect for the Padres will have the biggest season in 2025? Padres love to trade guys. We know that. So they've not held on to many of their pitchers. They just tend to trade them really quick. They drafted some guys this year. Cash Mayfield, Boston Bateman. I think Isaiah Lowe's pretty underrated. Tyson Neighbors probably moves the quickest reliever that I previously mentioned. I like Jagger Haynes as well. He's a kind of a deeper cut guy. I'd say the arm that has the best years, probably Cash Mayfield, even though he probably starts at the complex and doesn't give you as many innings. But a guy already in full season ball will go with Isaiah Cruz or Humberto Cruz, who may start in single A. Those guys are all pretty talented, just don't get as much hype. So Humberto Cruz would be an interesting one. A little younger. I think he was at the complex last year. Pretty good stuff there. Next question. Harvey Jones ask, how close is Andrew Painter to being back to where he was pre-injury? What's your confidence level to get there? Pure Stuff's already back. I mean, he was there in the AFL. Got 3 videos worth of starts, 3 videos of talent. I'm saying 3 videos worth of game film up on the YouTube from me and Beck. So Painter was really good. Fastball back up to 99, 100. It's always lacked a great shape, but just really good command and good velo. And the pitches move a lot different in Arizona. You're looking at like a 5 to 7% difference on pitch movement in the air in the AFL. So something to think about. But curveball was there. He threw a couple changes that look good. I think Painter's stuff is fully back. Command will just take some more time as it does pre-TJ. So, yeah, I would say by spring training, look and see where the command is. But the stuff is fully back already, in my opinion. Yosef asked, what do you think of Davison De Los Santos, and do you think he's going to be able to improve the whiff and chase numbers? I've always been on the low end on Davison De Los Santos. I can't buy into the profile because he can't make contact. He's the most aggressive hitter in pretty much all of baseball. The good news is he's going to get a chance to play. I mean, he's in Miami now. He'll get a shot. The power, I mean, it's some of the best in the minors. No denying that. He put up elite exit velocities. Contact rates were bad. I mean, like 64% overall, 77% end zone. Those are issues. He had one of the worst chase rates in the minors at 45%. I don't know. I struggle with this kind of profile. It's just one that's hit or miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't do player comps often, but I just see Franmil Reyes. Franmil Reyes had a 30 home run season. Franmil Reyes was also out of baseball, and at least Major League Baseball at a pretty early age. So that's what I see. I hate that. Davison just doesn't have the contact skills or plate approach for me where it's like, I actually think he can be decent. I know I'm the low guy on him. I'm okay with that. There's just such a small, like, hold a thread with this kind of profile. So not in on Davison. Maybe he has a good season or two. Just not there. All right. Favorite prospect in the Tigers aura, coming from Pro Koozie on Twitter. Favorite prospect in the Tigers org is probably Thyron Lorenzo. Obviously, you've got their three studs. Everybody knows Jackson Jobe, Max Clark, and Kevin McGonigal. Don't need to talk about those guys. Thyron Lorenzo is a good catcher. He was so impressive behind the plate in the AFL. Good receiver, really good transition times, and I got some 1.8 to 1.9 pop times on him, which are very, very good. He's a good athlete. He's a switch hitter. He pounds the ball. Lorenzo being written off as a catcher so young was a bad move by a lot of people, in my opinion, because he looked the part. So Thyron Lorenzo, everybody wants to talk about Josue Briseño. He's moving to first base full time, but a really good bat. But both those guys, if you want somebody from this draft, I'd look at prep righty Owen Hall out of Oklahoma. Similar mold to Jackson Jobe when he drafted him. Fastball, not quite as good as Jobe's, but I mean, 3,000 RPM sliders don't come pretty easily from prep guys, but Owen Hall has a good frame, and I think Owen Hall could take a big step. Jake Miller's a high floor arm that nobody talks about. I have him top 10 in the system. Very, very good arm there. So the Tigers have some dudes. I'm kind of a believer. So, all right. Next question. Matt Logan. I'm curious how the Astros prospects look in the near term, especially Jacob Melton, Zach DeZenzo, and Bryce Matthews. Should we expect MLB playing time in 2025? And what's the ceiling for them long term? Thanks, Chris. I've enjoyed my Dynasty Dugout subscription. Thanks for the shout, Matt. Appreciate that. Jacob Melton's the closest to playing time, just given their situation. Melton is a really good prospect. He's a plus glove in center field. He moves well. He's got good power and speed. The contact's the biggest question, but I think he makes pretty respectable contact too. So yeah, I think he's going to find a job just given this outfield right now. Look at the rest of this situation, and it's not good. I mean, you got Chas McCormick, Taylor Trammell, and Jake Myers listed as their starters by roster resource. That's an issue. Milton's probably down 2 months and comes up. The others you mentioned, I mean, obviously there's a wrench in some of these because they signed Christian Walker and traded for Isaac Paredes. So Zach DeZenzo is an interesting one where, you know, his playing time kind of out the window at this point. Shea Whitcomb's versatility helps him, but, you know, I don't really know. Bryce Matthews still needs some seasoning. They pushed him aggressively, but he really struggles with contact. So Matthews is a very good athlete. He hits the ball hard. He played a lot of spots last year he played short third. So he could potentially slot in a couple different spots soon, but right now it's a crowded situation. Melton, probably the guy that gets the first crack for 2025. But Matthews is interesting for me because everything's there, but the contact's like 20 grade. So I'm not sure. Not 20 grade. That's harsh, but Matthews' contact is not there at all, and that's kind of my concern with him. Is like, you know, what does it look like long term? Does he figure it out? He's never made good contact dating back to college ball. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's fine. Fun player to dream on the upside because it certainly looks like a top 50 prospect if all clicks there. But the contact numbers right now were pretty bad. He was terrible against breaking balls in my looks when I saw him this year, but certainly something you can overcome. He's a good athlete with good power. Larry Cardoso says, what's the deal with Marco Luciano? There's been reports that the Giants are thinking about moving him to the outfield. Is he going to be an asset anytime soon? I don't think Luciano is going to hit enough, just being honest. I think that Fun power. He's still young. I mean, he just turned 23, so it'll be interesting. Is he capable of handling a corner outfield spot? Yeah, probably. And I think that you think about like the power upside with a Marco Luciano, and it's like, yeah, I mean, you can hope that he works out as kind of a corner outfield masher type where EVs are still really good, contact's still really bad. So, he's going to have to provide in some way. He gets on base, he doesn't chase a ton, so that helps. Is he serviceable enough in the outfield? We'll see. I think that Luciano's still got some work to do, but again, he's 23, just turned 23 at the end of the year. So I think it's too soon to write him off. Has he become a post-hype guy? Not yet, but maybe by midseason, he's there. So I'm not writing him off yet because he could be a high OBP power type corner outfield. Maybe, just maybe. We shall see. Fun profile that definitely has gone south really quick. Taylor Cruz, he says, what makes Cooper Hjerpe so dominant? I get the flat vertical approach angle, and his velo went up to 92, 94 this year. But a 13 plus K per nine and only 5.3 hits per nine is crazy for someone who's not a traditional power pitcher. I mean, he's the most unique look I think that most guys see. And considering like the levels he's pitched at, most of these hitters have never seen an arm that's this unique. Hjerpe's velocity fluctuates. You'll see him the 92 to 94 range. You'll see him 89 to 90 at times. So the fluctuation's interesting. He's topped out at 94, but the arm angle is so unique. It's definitely that flat approach angle, as you mentioned. True sidearm delivery, really tough release point for hitters. The sweeper, 17 inches of sweep. He throws that mid to upper 80s cutter too. And he throws a changeup with 17 inches of fade the opposite way. So it's like 34 inches of horizontal separation between the slider and the changeup, and really even the fastball with how much that it runs. It's really tough look. He throws strikes. He pinpoints command. It's a really unique arm, but he hasn't been available. Like, injuries have been a huge thing. 93 pro innings since being drafted in 2022. A little bit of a concern, but I do think that, Hjerpe is really, really interesting. Got another question from the live chat. What do you think of Blake Larson? He's a late bloomer on the prep side, where I think there's still a lot of development to be had. Contrary to what the consensus will tell you, the White Sox pitch dev is actually really good on the minor league side. As of last year, they changed over everything, and everybody took a step forward. So, I believe that he'll take that step that he needs. He went 68 overall to the White Sox, long, lanky frame, sits 92, 94, but has big extension and certainly room to add to that velo. Already topped at 96 as a prep. Good slider, high spin rates, sweeping action depth. Right now, it's just a two-pitch mix. Changeup's still in major development. That'll be something that he'll need to address. But his command took a step forward during his senior year. So I think that the White Sox pitch dev is really good at the minor league level. And I think that Larson could be a benefactor for that. So it'll be fun to see. Grant Mason asked, is Mike Bovee a legit first base or third base prospect? I mean, he's fine. I know people are going to laugh that know me. Like, the prospects that get the "it's fine" label are just guys that I'm like, Like, yeah, he had a hot start to his pro career. He makes a ton of contact. He had 85% contact rate. He had a 12% chase rate. It's a unique profile at the corner, but there's no power to speak of. Like, I'm just kind of worried about the power, and you have to have power at first base, especially. I mean, he was up to 110, so like, that's an encouragement, like, from an EV standpoint. Like, he at least can hit the ball hard. The biggest issue is, like, it's a line drive approach, like, to all fields. He's not trying to pull the ball. It's a beautiful swing. I think peak is like 20 home runs, gives you a good average in OBP. So I'm just more concerned that he's like a 12 to 15 home run corner infielder with a good average, which is good, but I think you need a little more out of that profile. And is Tyler Black going to be given a larger MLB sample this year? Probably not, because he just doesn't have a position. And I think that's the concern. That's always been the concern, and why I've always been low on Tyler Black. He got all the buzz. I was not in because there's no position to speak of. And the bat's just okay. Like, he put up good numbers in 1 year on the surface, but the underline wasn't there. I don't think Tyler Black's an everyday player. And should we have faith in Walker Martin after a slow start? I mean, I was definitely high on Walker Martin as a prep. I mean, the prep data I'd gotten was super. He's was the best athlete in the draft class, in my opinion. I mean, it was terrible. Contact was bad. I think that solely focusing on baseball, sometimes it takes a little more time for guys. I am much lower on Walker Martin. I would still say he has the highest ceiling between these three, but Mike Bovey's probably the safest of the three. Like, Mike Bovey's an MLB player. I mean, Tyler Black's a major league, he's made it, but Walker Martin may not even make it. So the upside's still to dream on. I'd still take some buy low shots, but not spend a lot. So David Katz says, what do you expect Jesus Mate's ranking will be this time next year? That's a fun one. I mean, evaluators that I respect, Jeff Ponce has Jesus Mate as a top 10 prospect already. I'm not quite there, but you look at who's going to graduate. I mean, Jason's going to graduate. Roman Anthony's going to graduate. Andrew Painter's going to graduate. Dylan Cruz, Kobe Mayo. Basayo might not. Maybe. Matt Shaw. Max Clark probably won't. Walcott probably doesn't. Jenkins maybe. Job, yes. So you're going to have a lot of graduates, and he's naturally going to move up if he performs. But I will say that if Jesus Mate does even remotely what he did in the DSL at the complex, and I'm even under the impression that he may go straight to single A, Brewers like doing that. I secretly hope so, because I'll get to see him a lot because they're close to me. But I think that this is an easy top 5 prospect if he just does what he does in the DSL. That data was elite. I already talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. I mean, it's his combo of power, chase, and contact skills. I mean, otherworldly. I mentioned it was a 9th percentile, the same age from Lazaro Montes. It was 2 miles an hour higher than Montes. His contact was like 20% better than Lazaro Montes, and his contact was better than anybody else in the DSL. And the chase rate was just by and far better. So Mate could be the number 1 prospect. I wouldn't rule that out, but his value could also sink based on where the expectations already are, because he has been just insanely hyped, and rightfully so. I mean, those that are saying Jesus Mate isn't a top 100 prospect, I'd say you're wrong. Yes, DSL surface stats don't matter, but the underlying is the elite, like the most elite TSL prospect that we've seen from just a data standpoint in a long, long time. I like getting questions like this. Sam R. at Chai Fan Daddy. Some insight on Stuart Baroa, not in your latest rankings, but made some noise last year. So yeah, I mean, Stuart Baroa is interesting. I didn't really dig in much, just to be honest with you. I did after your question. 25-year-old, shorter prospect with the Blue Jays. He did make his major league debut, and that's obviously a good prospect for me not to have ranked. I mean, he made his major league debut. It's an interesting prospect in the sense of, like, AAA numbers are really good. I mean, he's got a little juice. He stole 34 bases last year in the minors, hit 281 with an 825 OPS. So, yeah, Stuart Baroa was kind of interesting to look at and say, like, all right, what is this guy? Went to the film, it's like, okay, I can see something. The exit velocity's definitely not there. I mean, it was an 83 mile an hour average, which would be the bottom of the barrel for MLB standards. Caleb Durbin was right there with him, 83 average EV, 9th percentile exit velocity, sub 100. Contact skills were fine, 75%, 80% overall, or 75% overall, 80% end zone. Chase at 25. I mean, Baroa looks like one of those guys that probably spends a lot of time in AAA, just up and down. I mean, yeah, he made the majors, so good. I'm not sure he's anything more than like a potential 4th kind of outfield type that's up and down, just getting the reps. So I do appreciate that, because I like digging in on guys that I've completely missed. Savento17 says, is Austin Charles still worth a hold, or are you trying to move on? I mean, I've been sitting on Charles for 2 years now. He was buzzy, 20th rounder, comes to Columbia, single A Royals pretty quick, so a guy I get to see a lot. I'd comp him to, like, I don't know, like a baby zebra or something that doesn't know how to run. He grew really quick. He's got really long legs. He looks awkward doing everything. Charles is actually a good glove at short third. He's solid. He runs well. Even though he looks funky doing it, like, the times are fine, and there's some power at times, but his swing is counterintuitive. Like, his upper and lower half work against each other. It's just really funky. He kind of inside outs everything. Is there still potential? Yeah, but I don't think he's a top 500 prospect, if I'm just being honest. So, if it's, I guess there's probably somebody out there I'd rather bet on at this point. Just seeing Charles a lot, it's not somebody I'm just going to try to bet on when there's other hyped guys. Jackson Churio's Meat Hammer on Twitter says, Jesus Rodriguez is the most elite prospect that doesn't get any love. Why? So Jesus Rodriguez added to the Yankees 40-man roster. I mean, he's interesting. I was guilty of really not paying him any attention. And I was like, okay, like this guy had a decent season. He's 22, so spent the entire season as a 22-year-old. And the Yankees liked what they saw enough to add him to the 40-man. There's some interesting skills, like when you look at the profile, I think that he's shown improvement. He's been in the system for a while, so I guess it's kind of like some fatigue there, where this is the case where the Yankees love to have a guy, like a catcher, that they can just kind of work on in the majors. And maybe Jesus Rodriguez is that guy. They traded several of their backup catchers to Wells. We know they have good depth, but Rodriguez might be that guy in 2024 that just kind of sits on the roster behind Wells and plays a couple days a week, despite only having 90 plate appearances above AA. Now, the interesting thing is, like, I don't think the skills are like all that good. It's just it's a fine skill set. Like, he's been fine. Like, the contact is his best asset. Really good contact hitter, run 80% overall contact. That certainly stands out. He has respectable plate discipline too. He's definitely taking his walks, low chase rate. That's good to see. And the power, like, he's put up some decent slugs, but I think the exit velocities are, more fringe average to below average. And where does he play in the field? Like, obviously the Yankees are going to bring him along as a catcher, but he didn't catch all that much last year. He caught just 30 games between high AA. The versatility is good, though. I mean, like, you like to see that. I always like a guy that can catch and play other spots in the field. So he spent time at first base. He spent time at third base, DH. He spent time in left field. And that's valuable in himself. So I think Rodriguez is probably one of those guys that's never an everyday player. He always kind of plays second fiddle to somebody. But you can't deny, and I can't deny that I've been too low on him at times, and that there's some skills where it's like, all right, maybe this guy can stick on an MLB roster. Obviously, the Yankees like him enough to do so. So that's at least something to watch out for. But yeah, I mean, Jesus Rodriguez, definitely no talk at all, and I've been guilty as part of that too. So, Doc Pat 1028 says, who do you think will be defensively better in center, Dominguez or Jones? Definitely Jones, better athlete, good glove in center. And which will be the better offensive player? I think that definitely Dominguez is a better offensive player because he can make contact. Like, his own contact rate was 20% higher than Spencer Jones last year. So take that for what it's worth, but 20% in his own contact is a major difference. So give me Dominguez there. Ed from the Bronx, please rank these 2024 busts to come back to the best this year. Yiddy Capet, Alex Ramirez with the New York Mets, Miguel Bleis, Chase Davis, and Drew Gilbert. Ranking them to come back this coming year, I will go Drew Gilbert. He just wasn't healthy at all last year. And then Chase Davis, who made some swing changes and really paid off. Miguel Bleis, Alex Ramirez, and Yiddy Capet. Alex Ramirez is the weirdest one where it's like, I sit on Alex Ramirez a lot when he was in high A, and the dude just, he mashes. Like, he's such a fun player, and I watch him like, why? I don't understand, like, why this guy just can't put together. Like, his contact rates aren't good, but in one series, so a 6-game series that I saw him, he had 10 balls hit over 100 miles an hour, which is just stupid for a minor leaguer. Like, he was a young minor leaguer at the time, so I'm just not sure he ever amounts to what we hope, but yeah, I mean, Gilbert and Davis are the buys here. Maybe Chase Davis. I think Chase Davis is probably the best buy of the bunch. Getting towards the end. Thank you for all the questions. Chris Attardo says, what do we expect from Brady House and Michael McGreevy this coming season? Michael McGreevy, you can expect a lot of innings, a high floor, and decent ratios. He's not going to strike out a lot of guys, but McGreevy might pitch 180 innings. Like, he is a innings eater, and a good one at that. So McGreevy's an anchor that all fantasy teams need in their rotation, that just doesn't cost you much and gives you innings. I'm low on Brady House. I think that there's some concerning things in the profile. Yeah, House hits the ball hard. He's definitely fun when he does connect, but the exit velocities overall are not all that great. He is super aggressive. He chases. I mean, at 38% chase rate, that's way higher than you like to see. One of the highest swing rates in the minors. Just super aggressive hitter. Inconsistent launch angles. I think there's still upside with House, but in general, just not super excited. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely low on Brady House at this point. Jeff Johnson says, do you think it's worth being patient with Aiden Miller or sell him now? I mean, it depends on what you can get in return. I think Aiden Miller is a top 50 prospect. He's solid. His hardest hit balls are on the ground. So I think that's a little bit of a concern with Miller. Just the swing path is kind of conducive to lower launch angles, but he's a really simple operation, makes a ton of contact, very good plate discipline. And, while you can look at the numbers and say like, okay, like the exit velocities are good with Miller, like overall hard hit rate's not great. Hardest hit balls on the ground. So that's a little bit of a concern to me, but there's really good skills there. So I trade Miller for a top 30 prospect or a solid MLB piece. Absolutely. But I don't think he's a must sell right now. The legendary Panthers wide receiver, Steve Smith, he says, give us 5 prospects that have future number 1 overall prospect talent. Now, we talked about Jesus Mate. He's obviously one. Go Sebastian Walcott, Leo DeFries, Emmanuel Rodriguez. I still think Max Clark could be it. I think if he adds a little power, that's a skill set that I love. So, those guys. But if we want a deeper cut name, like Zaire Hope had the best combo of 9th percentile exit velocity, chase, and contact in the minors last year. So that's a lot of fun upside to dream on there. Deeper cuts. Let's see. Just want to find a deeper name because everybody knows the other ones. And they're going to be rostered in every league. I thought Welbin Francisco took a big step forward last year. Is he number 1 caliber? Probably not. Like, doesn't have that intriguing upside. Got to go with my boy Griffin Burkholder, though. Just, this year's Roman Anthony from the draft. Power speed out for days. Good contact. Like, I think Burkholder's pretty special. He's a 70 runner with above average, maybe better power. Good feel to hit. Good frame. I'm all in on Burkholder. And then the final question from Helun and Isik says, Jose Corniel 2025 MLB debut. I like Corniel, Rangers pitching prospect, had an awesome 2023. Had TJ, missed all this year. I would say probably no debut this year, just given that Corniel has to work back from injury from TJ in 2025. So, yeah, fun arm, good buy low, but not somebody I think debuts this year. So that's all the questions. I'll check the live chat and see what we got going on. If you have any questions there, thanks for hanging out. That was fun. A lot of good questions, a lot of fun prospects. It's a good time of year. Finally closing out my last team list, doing the Blue Jays right now, and it'll be done. All 30 teams written up, 900 written reports on prospects in the last 3 months. So love for you to check that out. I think they're pretty in depth. I'll have StatCast data for every minor league, not just AAA. Florida State League guys have got all the data for all the guys. College guys got data in on those too. So feel free to check those out. A lot of good things coming to the dugout this year. Thanks for listening, and hope you all have a happy new year, and we will chat soon.